This is the one thing that I want to get clear here, because so you are basically taking the position that your side is focused on harm reduction and the conservatives are like just out to lunch on the fact that there could be children being harmed by false positives. They're not actually gender dysphoric. They're doing it because all their friends are doing it and it's cool. And they end up getting like a double mastectomy before they've even gone through puberty. Well, I guess obviously they would,
but that would be puberty, that would be more or less like a straw man of like,
so
what
let's
would
get
happen if every guideline
let's
was
get
ignored
rid of
and
that
everything
straw
else,
man. Then let's
talk about it. Yeah, the social contagion thing. So I can pull up my notes here on this too. What usually happens with the social contagion thing, there absolutely is research that suggests that social media can sometimes make people like think that they have a disorder that they don't have. That's not necessarily just with gender dysphoria, though.
I agree.
Could be like,
depression,
like
all
anxiety.
kinds of things. Yeah, anorexia is a huge one.
Right, and so that's like possible for sure. But again, that would be an argument as to why the guidelines should be followed, why the clinics should be better funded. Kind of in that direction, right? I think that when
weeding
we look
out
at it
these
overall,
false positives.
Right. There are not very often times where it's like a result of social contagion, even though really controversial.
How can you say that though? How can you say that though?
Because I have my study here that showed that like it can, hold on, I can pull it up for you.
So there's literally a study on the social contagion effect because.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's multiple. I mean, there's a lot of research on here.
I read Abigail Shire's book on this, and she was saying that there were virtually no studies on this stuff, and that's part of the problem. Nobody wants to study it.
Well, was she I know Abigail Shrier.
Yeah.
She made the book. Wrote the book.
I probably should have had all my notes up beforehand. I apologize.
Trying to find this I'm not trying to argue the point. Really, my whole point of bringing this up is to make it clear. And you've claimed that you're a centrist and that you understand both sides of this argument. You're a former conservative. It seems like you're the perfect person to actually understand that there are both sides arguing for harm reduction here, and that there's a simple equation. It's like how many. If we miss some trans kids, some kids that actually have gender dysphoria versus, how many kids are getting false positives and going through some detransition process that they later regret. If one
we do
group
have that,
is,
though, but we have data already.
Do you have the numbers? Do you have the numbers? Is it like 1,000 on this side of the ledger and like 2,000 on this side of the ledger?
Those numbers can't exist yet because you have people that have trans regret now, but that's people that have been trans. The long-term numbers are people that have been trans during a time period where society itself was weeding people out, telling them not to be trans.
Well, you're making my argument though.
I know I am. I am making an argument. But I'm saying this is why those studies can't exist. Because the people that long-term studies about desistance rate would be during times where society was anti-trans. So you'd imagine that there's not people falling prey to social contagion in the 80s and 90s and even in early 2000s to be trans.
What Lauren said about children maybe watching my YouTube videos and thinking that they can be like me or transition or whatever. I don't really know how much you know about me, but I'm probably the most vocal anti-children transitioning person on the internet.
This is, I think, a pretty bad argument. I'm not trying to say here that Blair White transes any kids, that she makes them be trans. But at the same time...
That would be interesting if you were, though, because that is actually the argument against you. Right? I mean... Of course you don't want to make that argument because that's the argument other people
makes that argument. Yeah.
Does he really? Oh my God, he makes a conservative argument?
I think he does.
No way.
Let's see. Let's find out.
Let's be naive. Pretend that representation doesn't matter. Blair White is a young, attractive, successful,
oh my God.
Trans
oh
woman.
My God.
Tons of young.
Oh my fucking God.
He's making the social contagion argument.
Oh my fucking God.
I know.
Oh my God!
This is.
Where is Hunter? Where is Hunter? Where is Hunter? Look, Hunter, it's okay to make this argument. This guy's on your team. He's making the argument right here.
So this is perfect example.
Oh my God.
Of how Joel is so caught up in tribalism that he's not even making arguments based on his ideology. He's making them based off of whose side is making the argument. So if he's approaching this video as anti-Blair,
he's making the argument
he's going to
right
say
here.
anything that she says is wrong, even if it hurts his own side.
Oh my God. He's making Abigail Schreier's argument right fucking now, and he doesn't even know it. Oh my God.
And he says it would be naive to not make that argument too.
Please look on his channel. Please look and see if he has if he has videos against Abigail Schreier's book. I'm sure he does.
Okay.
Oh my God, this is so good. This is best moment of the stream ever.
This was pretty good. We'll go back a little bit just to breathe it in again.
Kids, that she makes them be trans. But at the same time, let's not be naive. Pretend that representation doesn't matter. Blair White is a young, attractive, successful, engaged trans woman who tons of young people no doubt look up to. That is...
Now do it in Abigail Schreier's voice. Can you do it in Abigail Schreier's voice? Because she says the same exact thing.
I know.
Is important on its face. She implicitly tells her audience in every one of her videos, yes, I am trans, and that's okay. This doesn't mean that Blair White generally makes good points or that she does more good than harm, but yes, she does normalize being trans to some extent, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if some little trans teen from a conservative family watched her videos and felt like they could be themselves without shame. Ultimately...
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Though he doesn't, he tries to frame it in a non, like, oh, it's not that they're becoming trans or they're confused about being trans. They're accepting who they really are. So he's trying to frame it in the most positive way possible. But
okay.
So.
In some sense,
well, they don't believe in the false positives. Most people don't believe in the false positives of. They immediately tell me, they're like, "What? Are you kidding? That is something no one would ever do. It's such a huge life commitment." And I'm like, "Have you seen the stats on suicide? Like,
right.
Suicide seems like a pretty radical life commitment as well, but it happens."
Lauren is right. If Blair did detransition, grow out a mustache, and tell her audience that being trans is something that can and should be fixed, it would send a much more hostile, much more anti-trans message than the one she currently sends.
Wait. Okay. This is like level 10 underwater super secret chess logic here, okay? So obviously, Joel, okay, that means that Blair is not trying to be anti-trans, Joel, okay? That's what it means. It means that she has a fundamental disagreement with Lauren that being trans is inherently wrong. Oh my God, Joel, how do you miss this conception?
Yeah.
That's just a fact. So if the argument that Blair uses here is a bad one, or at least not a particularly strong one, why does she use it? What purpose does it serve? And I think the answer to that...
That's very interesting. Do you see that he said, why would she use this argument? What purpose does it serve? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe that's just Blair's opinion. Maybe it doesn't serve a purpose. Okay. Maybe she's just telling you how she feels, right? I know this is shocking, Joel, that sometimes people, they have thoughts and feelings and they say them on camera to people on the internet. I know this is a crazy idea. Not everyone, very meticulously, very precisely crafts an argument with the purpose of some sort of nefarious deed or something. And this goes back to what you were asking earlier about, do I think Joel has a motivation here, like a political motivation? And this would seem to say, yes, he does. If he's conceptualizing how everyone else views conversations as being politically motivated, that implies that he views conversations as being politically motivated.
Yes.
Is fairly simple. It's a way of avoiding the challenge at hand. The problem with Witzke's claim here lies in its first step. She thinks trans people are bad, and that's not true. Trans people are fine. And to the extent that Blair White does normalize that belief, it's a good thing, actually. But Blair doesn't want to advocate for that position because doing so would make her appear anti-conservative. Okay.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
This is like the dumbest logic of all time. Okay.
Yes.
This is the conspiracy theory levels here. Blair doesn't want to advocate for the position that she's implicitly advocating for by existing on the internet. Okay, Joel. Okay, Joel. That's
so many levels of conspiracy theory going.
This is like 100th dimensional intellect level argument here. Okay, that we're making.
When you sent this to me and I listened to it for the first time, I was like just flabbergasted by all of this stuff.
Like, there's a lot of, this is a very weird video because, you know, Joel makes a lot of videos I disagree with. This one I was just like, this is some dumb shit. Like, usually like his arguments are not this fucking brain dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Or this bad faith maybe.
Do you think it's caught up with him? You think anyone's like cued him in that this like a terrible argument?
I don't think so. I mean, this video has lots of views. All the comments are basically agreeing with Joel here.
Joel can do no wrong in the eyes of his audience. He's representing the underrepresented.
I mean, he's being very dishonest too, the way he's clipped this. Is because, you know, Lauren was specifically talking about, trans kids and Blair's, getting kids to trans themselves or whatever. And so Blair's responding to this specific point, and then Lauren interrupts her before she can even finish her point. And then Joel's like, oh, well, since Blair didn't answer this question exactly the way I think she should have answered it, even though she got interrupted and maybe would have addressed this further, I'm going to say it's because Blair is actually anti-trans or ashamed of being trans. And I'm going to make all sorts of negative assumptions about this based on this very strange interaction between a crazy lady yelling at Blair White.
Yeah. Does Blair strike you as the type of person that is embarrassed of being trans?
Yeah,
like,
no.
Remotely?
No.
Remotely?
No.
Like, that just doesn't, like, consult the fact checkers, Joel. Come on. This is
Consult
ridiculous.
your eyes, Joel.
I know. You've drifted into just insaneville here.
But it's like if a black guy is talking to a white nationalist, okay, the inherent assumption in all of the white nationalist arguments generally is that the black people are inferior to some, on some genetic level or something. And so the black guy, does he have to explain that he thinks black people are not inferior? Like, isn't that just assumed as part of the argument? Like, can he address some other parts of the argument without saying, P.S., by the way, I think black people are not inferior. Fuck you. Like, does that have to be said every single time?
It is a little insidious to insinuate that Blair is like some self-hating trans person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's offensive.
It's very offensive.
It's totally offensive.
That's why in the beginning I said, this is Big Joel, cishet white man telling trans women how to have discussions about transgender people. Like, it's so gross.
Yeah. Joel, come on.
Come on, Joel.
Check yourself. Like, find a therapist or something. This has to stop.
Look, Joel, you don't want to have your gross opinions match your gross aesthetic, okay? That's not good luck. Please, Joel.